Let's talk about something every NFL fan understands, but Bengals fans are seeing up close this season: the business side of football. And nothing reflects that reality more clearly than the situation surrounding Trey Hendrickson. Right now, Trey is officially listed as week to week. But if you've been watching closely, you already know this has been building for a while. First it was the hip, then the pelvis, then the back. One injury stacked on top of another until it felt like his entire body was begging for a reset. And at some point you start asking the serious question: is Trey truly healing, or is he protecting his future? Because here's the truth: Trey is in a contract year. His next deal could determine the rest of his career, and stepping onto the field at 50% for a 4-8 team could cost him millions. And still, knowing the competitor he is, if he were physically able, he'd jump back onto that field in seconds. But this isn't about toughness. This is about long-term survival in a league that cuts players the moment the production drops. That's the business. That's the reality. Before we continue with the latest Bengals updates, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss the breaking Cincinnati Bengals news. Alright, let's move on. The Trey situation also puts a spotlight on other players dealing with their own setbacks. Jermaine Burton, for example, is also listed as week to week. And the confusion around his status has fans shaking their heads. One day he's a full participant, the next he's sidelined, and his social media doesn't exactly clear anything up. Whether it's a legit injury or strategic caution, it's adding to the mystery of the season. Even Shamar Ste has landed on the week-to-week list, giving the Bengals another challenge as they try to find stability on a roster that's been battered since September. But coming back to Trey Hendrickson, this is the storyline that matters. 4 sacks in 13 weeks. Limited availability. And a season that hasn't given him many chances to prove his value before free agency. Players don't fake injuries, but they do make strategic decisions. And right now Trey has to think not only about this season, but the rest of his career. When you look at Trey Hendrickson's situation from his perspective, it becomes crystal clear why he's being cautious. He knows exactly what the league is: a business built on numbers. And if he's asking himself whether a handful of late-season games will boost his value in free agency, the honest answer is no. No team is going to throw an extra $10 or $15 million at a player because he squeezed out a few more stats on an injury-riddled roster. Right now, Trey's projected market value sits comfortably in the low 30s range. Whether he plays in December or not doesn't change that. If anything, stepping onto the field less than fully healthy could hurt his stock. So from a business standpoint, sitting out makes more sense than pushing through injuries like a hip, pelvis, and back, a combination that would slow down even the toughest pass rusher in the league. For the Bengals, though? Of course they'd love to have him back. This defense is missing that spark off the edge, and Trey's presence changes how offenses protect. But this season has made one thing clear: players protect their futures, even when it clashes with team needs. And Trey's future is the biggest factor driving every decision he makes. As for Shamar Ste, his situation has been its own frustration. Being a first-round pick and missing so much time stings, not just for him, but for the organization counting on him to anchor the defense. Week to week has basically become his status all year, and every update leaves fans hoping for more answers that never seem to come. And now the Bengals sit in a position where every single week is a must-win. They can still fight their way into the playoffs, but the margin for error doesn't exist. They need to win out, they need the AFC North to stumble, and they need momentum to swing their way fast. Would Trey return if the Bengals go on a run and push themselves into playoff contention? Maybe. The competitor in him would want to be out there. But after an off-season full of tension and unanswered questions between him and the front office, nobody can say with confidence that he'll rush back for a team that may not be part of his future. This is the reality of where the Bengals stand: a talented roster, battered by injuries, fighting for every inch, and surrounded by decisions that go far beyond football. This entire situation around Trey Hendrickson is one giant question mark, filled with possibilities but absolutely no guarantees. Maybe he returns in time for the playoffs. Maybe he doesn't. The only thing we can say for sure is this: the Bengals haven't placed him on IR. And that alone tells us something important. The team believes there's at least a chance he could return within 4 weeks. That's one of the few encouraging signs in all of this. But beyond that, it all circles back to Trey himself. This doesn't feel like a decision being driven by coaches or medical staff. It feels like a situation that depends entirely on how Trey evaluates his body, his future, and his long-term career goals. And let's be clear, that doesn't make him selfish. That makes him a veteran who understands the cold truth of the NFL. One wrong step on an injured body can cost a player years of earning and opportunity. And just to be absolutely fair, I don't believe Trey is faking anything. His injuries are real. He's been banged up, bruised, and pushed his body through a tough season. But there's a difference between being injured and being eager to rush back. And my personal opinion, which might be right or wrong, is this: Trey is hurt, but he's not rushing to come back because of the Bengals situation. That's the business decision part. Players sometimes take longer to return if the season is sliding, or if their future with the team is uncertain. It doesn't mean they're faking it. It means they're being careful. Now, comparing that to other situations on the roster, Shamar Ste? I do think he's legitimately injured. His entire season has been stop and start, and nothing about his recovery timeline has suggested he's milking anything. Jermaine Burton? That's the one situation that truly feels messy. The inconsistencies, the strange updates, the odd timing, it's been one long headache. And honestly, it's reached a point where the Bengals may be better off cutting ties altogether. The drama, the confusion, the lack of clarity, the team doesn't need that right now. This should have been handled cleanly, but instead it's become a weekly cycle of uncertainty. And yet here we are, still having to talk about a player who shouldn't even be part of the conversation anymore. The Bengals have enough challenges without dealing with off-field confusion. Injuries, depth issues, and a playoff race hanging by a thread are already more than enough to manage. The last thing this team needs is more distractions. But this is where things stand. Trey's situation is real but complicated. Shamar Ste is injured but battling. And the Jermaine Burton saga? It's exhausting, unnecessary, and needs an ending. What do you think about all of this? The Trey decision, the injuries, and the overall state of the roster?